The room felt colder than usual as I sat there, staring at my phone. My mother's name flashed on the screen, her calls coming one after another. I already knew what she wanted. She had nothing left, and now she was desperate. I never imagined this day would come. The woman who turned her back on me, who took everything my father left me and handed it to my brother without a second thought, was now pleading for my help. The irony was almost laughable. Years ago, after my father passed away, I believed there was at least one thing in life I could count on: his last wishes. His will was clear. He wanted me to have the house, the savings, and the small business he spent his life building. It was his way of ensuring I had security, that I wouldn't struggle the way he once did. But my mother had different plans. She told me not to worry, that she would handle everything. I trusted her. I should have known better. The truth came out in the worst way possible. I overheard her on the phone, laughing with my brother about the money, my money. The house? Sold. The business? Gone. The savings? Transferred directly into his account. When I confronted her, she didn't even flinch. She simply looked at me and said, "Your brother needed it more than you. You'll be fine. You always are." That was the moment I realized I was nothing to her but a backup plan, a safety net she never intended to use unless she had no choice. Now, after all these years, she's calling me, crying, begging, saying she has nowhere else to go. My brother, the one she sacrificed everything for, turned his back on her the moment the money ran out. And now she wants me to pick up the pieces. The question is, should I help her? Or should I walk away like she did to me? I need your advice on this one. What would you do? I sat there, staring at my phone, my mother's name flashing on the screen. Again, the calls wouldn't stop. Every few hours, a new voicemail, each more desperate than the last. "Please, I have nowhere else to go. Your brother turned his back on me. I know I hurt you, but I'm still your mother." I clenched my jaw, my fingers tightening around the phone. It was surreal, almost laughable. For years, she treated me like I didn't exist. I was the afterthought, the one she didn't need to worry about because I was always fine. Now, she expected me to be her safety net. Growing up, I had always known my younger brother was her favorite. She never said it outright, but it was obvious in 1,000 different ways. When he wanted the newest sneakers, she bought them without hesitation. When he got in trouble at school, she defended him like he was the victim. When he crashed her car at 18, she blamed the road conditions. Me? I was the one expected to be responsible. I got a job at 16 to buy my own things. I worked hard for my grades because there were no second chances. When I needed advice, I had to figure it out on my own. Still, I never thought she'd steal from me. When my father passed, I was devastated. He had been my anchor, my only real support. But amidst the grief, there was one silver lining: his will. He had planned for me, for my future. The house, the savings, the business, he left it all to me. Not because he loved my brother any less, but because he saw me for who I was. He knew I would honor his work, respect what he had built. For once, I felt like I mattered, but my mother had other plans. At first, she avoided the topic when I asked about the will. She kept saying it was complicated, that we needed to wait. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mother. That was my biggest mistake. One day, I came home early from work and overheard her on the phone. I'll never forget her words. "It's all yours, honey. The house is already sold. The money's in your account." My stomach dropped. The house? Sold? My hands trembled as I stepped forward, heart pounding. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "What did you do?" She turned, startled, but she didn't look guilty. She didn't even look ashamed. Instead, she sighed, as if I was the one causing the problem. "I did what was best for this family," she said, arms crossed. "Your brother needed it more than you." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath me. But it was Dad's will," I stammered. "He left it to me." "You're strong," she said, brushing past me as if it was nothing. "You'll be fine. You always are." Those words haunted me. That was the day I walked away. I packed a bag, left that house, and never looked back. I cut them both off. If I meant so little to them, then they meant nothing to me. Fast forward 10 years. My brother, the golden child, the one she sacrificed everything for, he squandered it all. The house? Gone. The savings? Wasted on bad investments and reckless spending. He had been given everything on a silver platter, and still he destroyed it. And now, she was the one left with nothing. She had lost the house she stole from me. She had no money, no security, no one to turn to, and suddenly I wasn't the strong one anymore. I was the only one. She was calling me, crying, begging me to take her in. At first, I ignored the calls. I let them ring, but they kept coming. Each voicemail chipped away at my resolve. Not because I felt sympathy, but because I didn't know what I wanted to do. A part of me wanted to pick up, to scream at her, to tell her she deserved every ounce of pain she was feeling. But another part of me, I don't know. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the weight of knowing she was still my mother, no matter what she had done. I didn't know what to do. So, I turned to you. I need your advice. Should I help her? Should I let her back into my life? Or should I let her deal with the consequences of her own choices? Would helping her mean betraying myself? Or would turning my back on her make me just as heartless as she had been to me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really need to hear what you think. When I shared my story with you all, I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew people would have opinions, but the overwhelming response caught me off guard. So many of you had strong feelings about my situation, and honestly, I don't blame you. Some of you were furious on my behalf. Others shared personal experiences of betrayal and tough choices. And then there were those who suggested finding a middle ground. The range of perspectives made me stop and think even more. Here are some of the top comments that really stood out to me. Speech Balloon at Jessica K. 89. Your mother made her choice years ago. Now it's her turn to face the consequences. She took from you and never looked back. Now she wants your help. It's not your job to save her. Speech Balloon at Truth Seeker 88. You owe her nothing. She betrayed you first. Let her go. If you let her in now, she'll just find a way to take advantage of you again. Some people don't change. Speech Balloon at my_life lessons. If she truly regrets it, she'll apologize first. Otherwise, she just wants a safety net. Be careful. Guilt has a way of making us do things we'll regret later. Reading these comments made me feel validated. For so long, I had questioned whether I was wrong for walking away. But hearing your perspectives made me realize something. I wasn't alone. A lot of you brought up an important point. Is she sorry for what she did, or is she just desperate? That's the part one can't shake. If she had any regret, wouldn't she have reached out sooner? Wouldn't she have tried to make things right before she lost everything? I also noticed some of you suggested a middle ground. Helping her, but with strict boundaries. Maybe offering temporary assistance, but not letting her back into my life completely. I have to admit, I've thought about this. Maybe I could give her a little help without opening myself up to the same pain again. But would that just be setting myself up for more heartbreak? And then there's the hardest question of all. Can I live with the guilt if I walk away? I want to be strong. I want to protect myself. But I also don't want to become someone so hardened by pain that I lose my humanity. So, what do? This decision isn't just about money or shelter. It's about trust, about whether people can change, about whether I can forgive someone who never asked for forgiveness. I need to think, but more than that, I need to hear from you again. Should I give her any help at all? Should I set boundaries? Or should I close this chapter for good? Let me know what you would do in my shoes. After reading all of your comments, I knew what I had to do. Whether I liked it or not, I needed closure. The only way I was going to get that was by facing her in person. So, I agreed to meet with her. My stomach was in knots as I drove to the small coffee shop where we had arranged to meet. I hadn't seen her in 10 years. A decade of silence, of unresolved anger, of unanswered questions. And now, here I was, willingly stepping into the same space as the woman who had betrayed me. When I walked in, I spotted her immediately. She looked different, older, frilier, like life had finally caught up to her. The woman who once held so much authority over me now looked small, tired, and vulnerable. It was almost hard to believe this was the same person who had once told me, so casually, that she had stolen my inheritance and given it away. She looked up, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, her eyes welled up with tears. "Oh, honey," she whispered, covering her mouth with her hand. "I didn't think you'd come." I sat down slowly, keeping my emotions in check. I wasn't here to comfort her. I was here for answers. She reached across the table as if to take my hand, but I pulled back. She sighed and wiped her eyes. "I know you're angry," she said, "and I know I messed up, but please just listen to me." I didn't say anything. I just let her talk. She started by telling me how my brother had ruined everything, how he had burned through the money like it was nothing, how he had made one bad decision after another. She had tried to help him, tried to guide him, but he wouldn't listen. And now, he was gone, cutting off contact with her just like I had. "I have nothing," she said, her voice cracking. "No home, no money, no family. You're the only person I have left." I clenched my fists under the table. Now I was family? Now she wanted to acknowledge me? "Why are you really here, Mom?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean? Are you actually sorry for what you did? Or are you just desperate because you have no one left?" For the first time in that entire conversation, she hesitated. That tiny pause spoke volumes. "I was trying to do what was best for both of you," she finally said. I thought you'd understand. You were always the strong one. Your brother needed help. And you took from me," I interrupted. "Not just money, not just a house. You took away my trust, my sense of security. And when I confronted you, you didn't even flinch. You told me I'd be fine and walked away. And now that you're the one who needs help, you suddenly remember I exist." Her tears were falling freely now, but I wasn't sure if they were tears of regret or just self-pity. "I was wrong," she whispered. "I see that now. But please, I need you. Just give me a chance." I felt something tighten in my chest. I had spent so many years fantasizing about this moment, about her finally admitting she was wrong. But now that it was happening, it didn't feel as satisfying as I thought it would, because deep down I still didn't trust her. "I don't know if I can help you," I said honestly. "I don't even know if I want to." She nodded slowly, as if she had expected that answer. But then she played her final card. "You're better than this," she said, voice soft but laced with manipulation. "You're not like me. You don't hold on to anger like this. You're a good person." I nearly laughed. She was trying to guilt me into helping her. Even now, after everything, she was using the same tactics she always had. I stood up. Her eyes widened in panic. "I need time to think," I said, grabbing my jacket. "But don't think for a second that I'll just forget what you did." She reached out as if to stop me, but I was already walking away. As I stepped out into the cool evening air, I exhaled deeply. I had come looking for answers, but all I got was more confusion. I thought I would feel triumphant, strong, justified. But instead, I felt drained. Was she truly sorry? Or was this just another manipulation? And more importantly, could I ever forgive her? I don't have the answer yet. But I know one thing for sure. I'm not going to let her guilt me into anything. So now, I'm asking you all again. What should I do? Should I help her, but with strict conditions? Should I turn my back completely? Or is there some kind of middle ground I haven't thought of yet? Let me know what you would do in my place. After my last update, you guys had even more thoughts on this situation. Reading through your responses made me realize just how complex this decision really is. A part of me feels obligated to help. After all, she's my mother. But another part of me knows that helping her could mean opening the door to more pain, more manipulation, and more betrayal. Here are some of the top comments that really made me think. Speech Balloon at Real Talk 101. If she can't apologize, she doesn't deserve help. It's that simple. She's only reaching out because she has no other options, not because she truly regrets what she did. People like that don't change. Speech Balloon at Boundaries Matter. Set strict rules if you help her. Otherwise, she'll drain you like she did before. Make it clear that you're not her safety net. If you give her an inch, she'll take a mile, just like she did last time. These comments hit hard because they echoed exactly what I was afraid of. My mother never truly apologized. She acknowledged that things went wrong, that she had nothing left, but she never once said she was sorry for stealing my inheritance. And that's what keeps me stuck. If she had come to me years ago, before losing everything, and told me she regretted what she had done, maybe things would be different. But now, when she's at rock bottom, it feels less like regret and more like desperation. At the same time, I don't know if I can live with myself if I completely turn my back on her. Some of you suggested finding a middle ground, helping from a distance but keeping my boundaries strong. Maybe offering temporary support, like helping her find resources or a shelter, but not letting her back into my life completely. And honestly, I think that might be the best option. I don't want to be consumed by anger, but I also refuse to be taken advantage of again. I think I finally know what I have to do. I met with her one last time. I had spent days going back and forth, weighing my options, replaying every moment from our past in my mind. The betrayal, the loss, the years of silence, and now her sudden reappearance, filled with desperation but lacking true remorse. When I arrived at the small diner where we had agreed to meet, I felt a strange sense of calm. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was acceptance, but for the first time in years, I wasn't fueled by anger. I wasn't looking for closure from her anymore. I was looking to close this chapter for myself. She was already sitting at a booth near the window, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. She looked up when she saw me, her expression a mix of relief and hesitation. "I was afraid you wouldn't come," she said softly. I slid into the seat across from her. "I almost didn't." She let out a shaky breath, eyes darting away. "I know I messed up," she murmured. "I know I hurt you." I didn't respond right away. I had waited 10 years to hear those words, but now that she was saying them, they felt hollow, forced, like she knew exactly what to say to make me crack. "I need to be honest with you," I finally said, my voice steady. "I don't hate you, but I can't fix what you broke." Her eyes widened slightly, as if she hadn't expected me to be so direct. Let me finish," I interrupted gently. "I came here today because I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that I'm done. I can't carry this anymore. I can't keep wondering if I should be the bigger person, if I should let you back in, if I should save you from the consequences of your choices." She swallowed hard, her fingers tightening around her cup. "I just need a little help," she whispered. "A place to stay, a fresh start." I shook my head. "I can't do that. I won't." Her eyes filled with tears. "You're my child. We're family." I exhaled slowly. "Were we family when you stole from me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Were we family when you sold the house Dad left me? When you told me I'd be fine while you handed everything to my brother?" She looked away, biting her lip. "I know I was wrong," she admitted, "but I had to make a choice. Your brother needed help, and I didn't." I cut in, my chest tightening. "Or did you just assume I was strong enough to survive on my own?" She didn't answer. "That's the thing, Mom. I did survive. Without you. Without my inheritance. Without anything you took from me. And now, you need me, but I don't need you." She wiped at her tears, nodding slowly. "So, that's it?" "No," I said. "I'm not heartless. I won't leave you with nothing." I reached into my bag and pulled out a printed list of shelters, assistance programs, and community resources. I slid it across the table. "This is the only help I can give," I told her firmly. "There are places that can help you get back on your feet, but I can't be one of them." She stared at the paper, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You won't even loan me some money?" she asked, her voice trembling, but there was something sharp underneath it. Frustration, maybe even resentment. "No," I said simply. Her face hardened for a moment, and I saw it. The flash of the woman I remembered, the one who had dismissed my pain, who had chosen my brother over me without a second thought. "Fine," she finally said, pushing the paper away. "I see how it is." I nodded. "I think you always have." She didn't beg. She didn't argue. She just sat there, staring at the table as I stood up and grabbed my coat. "Goodbye, Mom," I said quietly. I walked out, feeling lighter than I had in years. For so long, I had carried the weight of her choices, of the betrayal, of the anger that had settled deep in my bones. But as I stepped outside into the crisp evening air, I realized something. I was free. I had spent so much time debating whether or not to help her, but the truth was I had already done the hardest thing. I had let go. Maybe one day she'll find real remorse. Maybe she'll understand the full weight of what she did. But that's no longer my burden to bear. I choose peace. I choose myself. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough. This story isn't just about money. It's about trust, about choices, about learning when to hold on and when to let go. For years, I held on to the anger of what my mother did to me. The betrayal cut deep, not just because she took what was mine, but because she never once considered how it would affect me. She assumed I'd be fine, that I'd figure it out, that I didn't need what my father left me because I was the strong one. And maybe, in some ways, she was right. I did survive. I built a life for myself without her, without my inheritance, without the safety net I was supposed to have. But just because I made it through doesn't mean what she did was okay. That's the biggest lesson I've learned. Survival doesn't justify betrayal. Strength doesn't mean people have the right to take from you just because they think you can handle it. Meeting her again after all these years forced me to face my past. To truly ask myself, was I still that hurt kid looking for an apology? Or was I ready to move forward on my own terms? I realized something that day. Forgiveness and accountability are not the same thing. I don't have to hate my mother. I don't have to wish her suffering. But I also don't have to fix her mistakes. And that's where a lot of us struggle, isn't it? We feel like if we don't help, we're cruel. That if we don't forgive, we're bitter. But the truth is, walking away isn't always an act of cruelty. It can be an act of self-respect. By choosing to set boundaries, by refusing to be manipulated by guilt, I finally took back control. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not just from her, but from the weight of what she did to me. And now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my place? Would you have helped her? Would you have cut ties completely? Or would you have found another way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Your perspectives help me make this decision, and I want to know what you think. And if you love stories like this, real-life drama, betrayals, and lessons that change the way we see the world, make sure to like this video, subscribe to AGS Stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. I'll see you in the next one.